Active inventory in Charlotte County just dropped 28% from a year ago. That's not a typo. We went from over 4,000 homes on the market last April to just under 2,900 this month. So if you've been watching this market or thinking about buying here, that number matters. Let me explain why. Hey, I'm Eugene Fulton, the Southwest Florida Relocation Specialist, and this is your April 2026 Charlotte County Market Update. So we're going to cover supply and demand, what's happening with the prices, how fast things are actually moving, and most importantly, what all this means if you're planning to move here from out of the state. So let's get into it quick. All right, so let's get into the market data. So let's start with the inventory, because inventory tells you who has the leverage in this market. Right now, there's almost 2,900 active single-family homes for sale in Charlotte County. I know that sounds like a lot, but compared to a year ago, we were at just over 4,000. So you're looking at a 28% drop in available homes. So fewer options means less negotiating power for buyers. New listings are also down. 648 came into the market in April versus 771 the same month last year. So that's about a 16% decline. So sellers aren't rushing the list, and some of that is the interest rate hesitation, obviously. And some of it is people who bought at pandemic era prices not wanting to trade up at today's rates. So here's the interesting part. Pending sales. So homes that went under contract in April are actually up 4.5% year over year. So buyers are still moving and demand really hasn't dried up. So now as we look at months of supply, sitting at around 6 months, which is traditionally considered a balanced market, which I know it may not seem like it because it still seems more like a buyer's market, but it's starting to even out. So the trend is moving. So we were at 9.5 months of supply a year ago. So that's a significant shift towards sellers in just about 12 months. So bottom line on supply, there are fewer homes available. Sellers are pulling back, but buyers are still writing contracts and the balance is starting to tighten. So what's happening to prices? The median sale price in Charlotte County for April 2026 was $357,000. That's up 2% from April 2025, when it was just under $350,000. Not a dramatic spike, but the prices are starting to move up, not down. Meanwhile, the average sales price was $420,000. So the gap between median and average tells you that there are some higher priced homes pulling the average up. So if you're shopping in the 300s to the low 400s, that median number is the one that you want to keep an eye on. So here's a stat I think that really tells the story. Sellers received about 93% of their original asking price. Last April, that number was 92%. So that number is starting to inch up, which means buyers have a little less room to negotiate than they did a year ago, but they still have room. And it's not zero room. So we're not in a market where everything is selling at full price. Most buyers are still landing about 6 to 7% below asking if they're smart about their offer. And one more thing to flag. The actual sales price actually dipped from March to April from 441,000 down to 420. That month over month pullback suggests the higher end of the market is softening a bit while the mid-range holds steady. So how fast is the market moving? The median time from listing to contract in April was 56 days. That's the same as it was in April of last year. So there's really no change year over year. So from contract to close, the median was 94 days. That's the full timeline from the list date to keys in hand. So you're looking at roughly 3 months. So what changed is the month over month trend. In March, the median time to contract was 70 days. April brought it down to 56 days. That's a meaningful drop in 1 month. So well-priced homes are finding buyers faster as we move into spring season. 531 homes closed in April. That's slightly down from 548 that closed the year before. So that's a 3.1% dip. But pending contracts, homes currently under agreement are up 10.8% from a year ago. So the pipeline is building, even if closings haven't fully caught up yet. So what this tells me is that the market isn't stagnant. It's quite active, but it's not frantic. So if you're a buyer, you generally have time to think, but not forever on a well-priced property. So what are some of the buyer takeaways? So if you're in New York, New Jersey, or Illinois, and you're seriously thinking about making a move to Charlotte County, whether that be Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, Englewood, or Venice, or somewhere in that area, so what does this data actually mean for you? So first thing it means is inventory is tighter than it was. That doesn't mean you're going to lose on every house you like in a bidding war. It means you want to be pre-approved and ready before you start falling in love with any properties out here. Sellers are still negotiating and you've still got room, but homes that are priced right aren't sitting on the market for months anymore. Second thing, prices are stable and they're trending slightly up. So if you've been waiting for prices to drop, I wouldn't count on that happening in this county at this time. The fundamentals here support prices holding. Demand from out-of-state buyers, limited new construction at the sub 400,000 level, and a lifestyle people keep choosing. The third thing, and this is specific to relocation buyers, the 90-day timeline for contract to close actually works in your favor. It gives you time to coordinate your move, sort out your current home, and research the flood zones and insurance before you commit. Speaking of which, if a property is in a flood zone AE, your lender will require flood insurance. And that cost sometimes is about $2,000, somewhere sometimes north of $5,000 per year, depending on the elevation and the home's construction. So that needs to be in your budget. Don't skip that part. And finally, the 6 months of supply number means that this isn't a market where you have to panic buy. But we're slowly starting to come out of a buyer's market. So you've got reasonable time, use it wisely. So if you have questions specific to your situation, whether it be your timeline, your budget, or neighborhoods out here, that's exactly what I do. The link is in the description to book a call. So that is your Charlotte County market update for April 2026. Hopefully you found this useful. If so, please subscribe. I put out market updates every month along with relocation guides for people making the move out to Southwest Florida. Check the description. There's a link to book a free call with me and a relocation guide I put together specifically for buyers coming from the Northeast and the Midwest. So there's no pressure. There's no sales pitch. It's just useful information that'll help you in moving out there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.